And namaste, everybody. Bruce here from rootsoflife.org. In today's video, we're going to dive into one of the fundamental meditations in Usui Reiki Ryoho. However, it's one that I don't find people practicing too much. It's called Tanden Ho. And what this is doing is bringing the focus down into the Tanden, or to the Hara, the Sacral Chakra area, the area just below the navel. And we utilize this practice to help us, well, in theory, to help us break bad habits. That's the overarching idea behind this practice. And you see, I hesitate here because I want to give a little context as to why this works before we move into the practice. Because to me, at least, always understanding, at least semi logically, if not fully logically, why these things work and how they work, it helps me to let go of the mind a little bit deeper. So perhaps it helps you as well. Now, in the way that I approach this as to why this works to help break bad habits or to relieve bad habits out of the system, is that we are focusing on the lower abdomen, right? And there's a really interesting connection here to the gut. Now, we often hear the gut as being described as our second mind or our driving mind. The gut is indeed what creates a lot of our addictions or cravings for food and alcohol and this type of stuff. And it's not the gut as a muscle, but it's the bacteria in the muscles inside of the colon in particular that cause these cravings. And then all of the subsequent bad habits that come with that, right? Like, if you have bad eating, then you might be overweight, then you might feel lethargic, then you might have lack of energy, you might not want to work out, you might become depressed. Like, it can be a very quick cascading action. And so if we turn the awareness into the Hara via Chiro Tanden Ho here in this practice, we're working to calm that story. Now, I wouldn't doubt, there's no way to prove this, but I also wouldn't doubt that by going into the guts via Reiki and the calming effect of Reiki, I wouldn't doubt or wouldn't be surprised that that is able to change the gut microbiome, right? There's good and bad bacteria. The good bacteria are feeding off of everything that supplies life, while the bad bacteria are feeding off sugars and, things that are a little bit more resistant to the flow of life. And in Chiro Tanden Ho, we are trying to create flow. And by doing that, we create vitality, right? So just my thought on it. It's a beautiful practice and one that I'd encourage you to incorporate into your daily Reiki practice as well. Very simple, very easy, very approachable, not only for ourselves and our own practice, but also perhaps for your students and your clients. Now, to practice this, we will come to a very comfortable but firm grounding through the hips into the earth, hands into Gassho. And we're just going to breathe here. Gassho, of course, being the traditional first meditation, and Hatsuryo, the traditional standard, anyways, Usui Reiki Ryoho meditations of Gassho, Kenyoku Ho, Joshin Kokyo Ho, and Sessen Toetsu. But for this practice, we're just going to focus on Gassho. Notice my hands are not completely flat against each other. Breathing, and my awareness is between the palms. And an opportunity here to ensure that we can try to keep our mind quiet. I'm saying that because I just had a fly or something land on my feet. And it's always an opportunity to remind ourselves to keep our mind still. Even if it's difficult, even if you fail like I just did. And now let's progress into Chiro Tanden Ho. We take the left hand down to the navel, placing it just below the belly button. So my belly button is here. And I like to put the thumb on the belly button. So the left hand is there, thumb is kind of in the belly button. Then we take the right hand and place it over the top. Now, I also like to have either the thumb in the navel and then the right thumb on top of the left, like this, or perhaps more comfortably, both thumbs to meet in the navel. And I'll take a modified light horse stance here, which is a very gentle bend in the knees, very similar to a traditional standing stance, standing posture in Tai Chi. Bring the hands on the lower navel. You notice that my arms are straight, parallel to the body. They're not back. My shoulders aren't pressing back. It's as if everything is within two planes of glass. My knees have a slight bend in them. Breathing through the nostrils into the Hara as we do in Joshin Kokyoho, the spirit and soul cleansing breath. And bring all of your awareness into the Hara here. Breathing into the belly. I'm very physical in the body. I have an acute awareness of the aspects of my body, which is both a blessing and a curse. And I'm only saying this here now because as I'm standing, I start to notice, slight vibrations in the muscles or tension in the tendons or a vertebra trying to move itself. I feel like my body is trying to realign. Now, that's just how I experience this. You might be more visual in the mind. You might be more tactile, perhaps in the sense of the breeze, or more auditory and hearing the birds or your surroundings. The only reason I'm saying all of this here is to remind ourselves that however we experience this practice here of Tanden ChiryoHo, try to keep the mind quiet. And so we'll remain here in a few moments in noble silence, breathing into the lower belly, and bring your awareness into the middle lower navel. If the mind wanders, we always just bring it right back into the lower belly. The sensation of the palms on the skin, perhaps. And if you know in particular something that you really wish to work on, in particular a negative trait or a bad habit, you may say to yourself, and in particular to the Tanden or to the Hara, the Sacral Chakra, the lower navel, I am done, or I am free now fully from this particular behavior. And just repeat that in your own language. You know what is right and best for you. So it's just identifying the thing you want to heal, stating firmly that at this moment it is no longer with you, and then giving it thanks. So I invite you to say something similar to the following. At this moment, and in this very moment, I am no longer burdened by this negative behavior, and I release it fully from my body with thanks, gratitude, and love. May it be free to the universe, never to return, and may its burden on my body, my mind, and my spirit be completely removed. So repeating something similar 3 times, and then just returning to silence here. All awareness in the lower belly. And we'll just stay in the practice for about 2 more minutes. Now, as we conclude Shodo Tanden Ho in this practice, just notice the difference in the body and the mind here. In particular, pay attention to a difference in the lower abdomen. Pay particular attention to maybe a difference or a change in the sensations, the stillness. You know, for me, it's a tranquility. I can feel myself kind of slipping as if I'm just powering down ever so gently. And I think that speaks beautifully to the power of Chiro Tenden Ho to work on removing these, these negative beliefs or thought patterns or practices in our lives that we have, routines, whatever they may be, because we go to potentially the root of those things that we're trying to let go of, and we power down the meaning. So I hope you've enjoyed that practice, everybody. A beautiful, beautiful practice for our Usui Reiki Ryoho practice, both by ourselves if we're doing solo work, or even with groups, Reiki circles, or even in particular, if you're holding space with a client, you might just hold Chiro Tenden Ho together. I hope you found that beneficial to your practice, everybody. Thank you so much for the views and the support of my channel. And if you want to learn more about me and what I offer with Reiki, please head over to rootsoflife.org. Be well and in Gassho to all.